Welcome to Life in the Music Business, a masterclass with Professor Pooch and your host, BACEFACE.
Welcome back, everybody, to Life in the Music Business with Professor Pooch and your host, BACEFACE. Today, Pooch, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's funny just setting all these voice levels and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've actually been guilty of, in professional major studios, of blowing tweeters when I'm singing.
Really?
Yep, oh my God. And these are professional. See, because I have people hear it, I'm sure, that I have a lot of dynamics in my voice, unless it's compressed to hell. Usually what I just tell them, I don't want it overly compressed, because when I'm singing, I do want the dynamics, except that I don't want it, they got to put a peak limiter somewhere up there, so I don't bloat things and stuff like that. But and another weird thing about it is that thinking about singing and stuff, almost every time when I've done recording sessions for I can't tell you how many years, that the first take is it. And first of all, even you could take 20 takes of somebody, the first is always the freshest, if it's if it's communicating and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
With me, every time I sing a song, it's not going to get better or worse. It's just going to be different. Because to me, I perform, it's what I feel at that split second. And that's what happens. So every time I sing, I might use different ad libs. I might, whatever I do, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I just let loose, kind of a thing. So I'm not concerned about it. But, oh yeah, man, I've blown 2 times, blew tweeters,
That's crazy, actually.
I didn't pay for them either, though.
Wow, well, that's good. At least you don't have to end up, you probably be out of your large amount in your pocket to be able to pay back all those tweeters.
Yeah, it's just funny. The shelf top, because I don't like working from the real large speakers, because they're not real. They sound cool, but if you're sitting too close, like the bass goes out the back door, because of the sine wave is so long and stuff like that.
Crazy.
But, yeah.
It brings me to an interesting point. So, how you said that your first take is really like the best thing that you feel that you do vocally on a song. How do you feel in retrospect to what goes on a daily basis nowadays, where the singers are doing more like 8 to 10 takes, where we have melodyne, revoice, all different things to align the vocals and be able to really comp the vocal instead of just having one live take?
First of all, it depends on the artist, okay? And it depends on the producer. And now, what some producers do that drives me crazy is they'll just do pieces by pieces by pieces, and then it's that whole thing. My thing is, if you have to redo pieces or do a whole thing all the way through. And then, if it's good or not, do another one all the way through. And if you have to punch from side to side, track to track, pieces or something like that, because otherwise the feel is different. It's really hard to get the same exact feel, especially with my voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be, the way it goes. But it depends on that. Now, speaking of, but usually if there's 10 takes, the first take of any artist is usually the freshest. Oh, and I pull a thing also. Oh, we're going to do and this could be with drummers. I've done with drummers, percussionists, or whatever. And I'll say, oh, we're just going to set levels now. And I always tell the engineer, record it, because I've had times where, okay, you're ready now? No, we got it. Because there's no pressure. They're just setting,
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, some of the artists I've worked with and recorded like on a daily basis, they're like, don't record this. I just want to do a scratch vocal or something. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm always recording. I'm always keeping everything. I'm like a hoarder when it comes to like my vocals and my audio files.
Well, I mean, I could tell story after story on this. I mean, this is good for producers to know and stuff. One of the songs I wrote, I always called him my little brother, who I trained to use all my equipment here. There was this whole studio over here at one point. And, he says, well, go out of the room. Let me do some vocals. So I said, okay, I'll go out for a while. And I came back and he had like 6 different vocal takes. And he would show me one after another. And I noticed he didn't play me one. And he said, nah, that's no good. That was it. That was the greatest take. It was real. And a lot of people can't hear their own, that it's real, that he really felt it, and he felt, I mean, that was it, man. It was perfect.
Yeah, I feel like that's a tough thing. I feel when it comes to songs like that, I mean, a lot of people, they write as they go, or they go right into the GUI and go into Pro Tools or Ableton or any of that type of stuff. And I mean, the majority of the singers that I run into are kind of piecing the song together as they go along. So how do you feel about that?
Well, it depends. The good one that I always remember is, let's say an artist comes to me with bunches of songs, and they'll play me different songs, and I see he's close, he or she, see he's close, but it's not quite there. And then I learned to say this: play me a song you don't like that you wrote, and it's always the best song.
Wow.
Because it's too commercial. Commercial doesn't mean somebody's going to buy it. It could be commercial and have integrity. You know what I mean? One other thing on the voice thing, though, my mentor again, I remember one day he had to work with an artist. I'm glad I wasn't sitting there, but he had her singing for hour after hour after hour. And I said, why'd you go through all that? He says, finally she got too tired to think, and there was just raw voice, and that was it. He got it.
Wow. That's a genius technique, actually.
Producers have to have all these tricks up their sleeves. I know when I worked as a producer, I mean, what would work with one person to say something when you're trying to get something out of it, I would have to say something different to make them understand. Everybody's different, Yeah. Oh man, I mean, every artist is different. But, I never look at them when I was recording. What I would do, I either felt them or not. I either got Pooch bumps or I didn't. And it was that I want to feel, I usually close my eyes. I got to feel them talking to me as if it was all about me, that what they wrote, those words. And someday we'll do a whole show on producing. We go thing after thing on producing tricks and all kinds of things, or just continue on with it now. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, we can go either direction. I mean, our fans would love that. I know that already. I know that's something that interests me as well. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, excuse me, we still are a producer engineer. I don't have time. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I've run into a lot of things. I mean, there's different tricks that have worked for me. And a lot of times it's just mistakes I've made that turned out great. Especially with engineering, there's nothing like, oh man, these people that go to these different colleges to learn audio, that's not the way to do it, man. I'm not going to name the guilty schools. It's funny. I always say, I'm not naming names to protect the innocent or the guilty. And but they'll keep promising you to keep you in the school term after term. Oh, we'll get in the studio next term. Oh, no, man. If you want to learn the music business, like take my books and courses, that's fine. But the audio, it's got to be hands-on. You want a strict hands-on audio class with just a few people in it, maybe for like 6 weeks with a great producer. That's the way to learn how to engineer, learn how to engineer.
Yeah, that's a great tip. It's like I see the equivalent as like interning at a studio or something like that. But the term producer nowadays is so misconstrued because there's people that produce beats, there's people that do just tracks, there's people that write full songs. So the producer in the sense that you're speaking of is someone that's actually orchestrating everything and telling the people what to do, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I was talking about engineering as producing. I mean, and producers a lot of times are the engineer also. I mean, a lot of my clients right now, their engineer is their producer, or co-producer. I always say, who makes the final decision on the mix? Oh, I have a lot to say. Well, then you're part producer, folks.
Mm.
These are labels. A lot of people do tracks or really arrangers. But if it's, my thing is from the contract end, if both sides agree that one did get some music thing because they did the tracks, songwriting credits or publishing credits, and the artist gets, especially with rap, where sometimes there is no music, when they come to producer and expect a track and stuff, at that point in time, if they agree on splitting it, fine. If they're both sides are happy, that's all I care about. I explain it to my client, what's going on and stuff. But, my thing is to be fair to both sides. If somebody earns it, they should get something.
Of course.
If they didn't earn it, they shouldn't. And there are major artists, I'm not going to name them again, who I've dealt with and stuff that had nothing to do with writing or producing any of it. And my clients, wrote the songs and are hit songs and stuff like that. And the artist automatically gets 20, 30% of the writing, 20, 30% of producing, of the publishing, if you want them to use your song. And they had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, like, I feel like in that situation, like, especially in the old term, like the old like boy band and just normal bands and that type of stuff, a lot of the people, like the lead singer would be writing the songs, and then they would be carrying the weight for the entire group, but the group wouldn't be getting paid the same royalties as the singer because of that reason. And I feel like everybody deserves a piece in that case, because I mean, they were there at that moment, so it's.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. Excuse me, we touched on it in one of the episodes, but my thing is, if there's a very major song, I'm not going to state it, but major hit record where the lead singer actually makes $20,000 a day. That's how much this song is played. And the lead guitar player, who really is what the people, I'm not going to sing it because it'll give it away.
Yeah, of course. But, I already know what it is.
Okay, and the lead guitar player is the hook. The song is all around that hook. And that's why the band split up. I mean, the person writing it didn't give him anything, and that's not fair.
That's the tough part about the industry, is a lot of people, they like to have their ego set high, and they're like, I wrote that song. Without me, that wouldn't have happened. But it's like there's so much in the air with the people that are around you that all are putting out energy, and it's you pick up on that energy. And if you were to create something around people like that, like, I feel like they deserve a piece of it. It's like,
yeah, but there are also people that'll just walk into the studio for 5 minutes, walk out, and say they had something to do with the song. I've seen that.
Yeah, that's
I've seen that.
On that.
Oh, I can tell you some things. It's it's who has the power in this situation is who gets pieces of things. And things can be split up. It gets, after a while, it's just not worth fighting about it and stuff. My thing has always been, like, if I co-write with people, and I've written a lot of songs myself, but I also co-write with people too. I love co-writing. It's their style and my style, and together you get a third thing, and it's kind of cool. Yeah. But I automatically, with people that I work with over and over again, I made it 50-50 each time, because maybe they had more words and notes the first time, and I had more words and notes the second time, and it just balances itself out. It's not worth fighting this, that I got 17.35%. Oh, I've run into situations like that. And I mean, it gets really crazy, kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a tough situation right there. I mean, like, in that case, it's like, I feel like the dealing with the larger sum numbers are like 25%, 50%, 75%. Like I feel like that's way easier to deal with than like an obscure number of like.
Well, because sometimes there's a whole room of writers. There are writing situations nowadays, and it's been for like several years now, where there's a group of writers. Now, maybe 3 have something to do with the actual particular song, but everybody gets a piece of it. It's like a group, and when somebody else, you know, if everybody's happy with that, fine. But man, some of these songs like have 8 or 10 writers. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know, because
I mean, typically back in the day, one person would write the song.
One or two.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know, somebody do the lyrics, somebody do the music. I mean, a lot of the famous writers back to the 40s through the 60s and stuff, the top songs were written with co-writers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dozier Holland.
Oh God, yeah. They were great.
I mean, I think it was Dozier that said over his lifetime he had written like 500 to 1,000 songs or something in that.
Oh yeah.
To get
oh
those.
yeah.
I mean, he wrote everything for the Supremes in all of Motown, including like a lot of.
Not all of it, but he wrote a good deal of it.
He was accompanied by Marvin Gaye, who at the time was still. It was like more of like. He was writing all this music for them as well, and I mean, it was a whole machine. That was the
well, it was a whole group of people. One of the main writers from Motown was Smokey Robinson. He wrote "My Girl" for the Temptations and things like that, you know, and different. I mean, but a lot of times it's co-writers. I mean, Lennon McCartney, you know, and even back in the show when they had the different theater things were really big in the 40s and 50s. One person wrote the lyrics, one person wrote the music. Hey, if it worked, hey, look at Elton John. You know, Bernie Taupin writes the words.
Yep.
And then Elton John does the music.
Also genius music. I mean, he's a composer within himself. And I mean,
if it works, it works.
Yeah, that's a good combo right there. I mean, it doesn't get better.
Yeah. If you could find the right partner, man, that's the key.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I have a funny one. My ex-wife, man, God, we work great together. We're a mess living together. But writing-wise, our writing together with some great stuff.
Wow.
You know, just 2 insane people and the same thing didn't work.
Different dynamic for sure.
Yeah, the best songs are real. And if one person could do it, fine. Excuse me. Boy, you know, these damn hairballs, you know, pooches and hairballs. But, or is that more cats? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a great example of writing that worked really well was Fleetwood Mac, where the lead singer and the lead guitar player, both brilliant. I mean, they came up there, they grew up basically, well, they grew up, but late teens and stuff. They were together for a long period of time. And they had broken up. And the group was passing around people. It was getting a little crazy. But they would write about each other. And somehow they were able to get it together on stage and not kill each other. And it turned out to great stuff because it was real. You know what I mean? And the other person would sing background or play guitar or whatever like that, you know.
It's such a rare thing to see nowadays. I feel like there's only solo acts. If there's not solo acts, and there's really like it's all manufactured nowadays. I don't feel the realism in the music and the act and in the live shows, anything. I just feel like it's just a money machine. Like I feel like it's been hard for me to find real artists that I like, besides like obviously your top ones that you see on the top of Billboard all the time and the ones that pass away and that type of stuff. But it's hard to really find anything that you can really connect with nowadays like you could back in the day.
Well, yeah, a lot of times, starting with like some of the boy bands and from the 90s and up, they're written from outside people, you know, the songs, and they put together pieces of people. Sometimes there were different people in the same award show, American Idol, I forget which ones or whatever. They were just put them together, made a group out of them. And hey, if it works, it works. And if the songs are great. I mean, some of those boy band songs from the 90s are great songs. You know,
I'm going to lie to you, right? I'm going to tell this to everybody, right? Some of the best music I was ever written is on No Strings Attached by NSYNC. That is going on record, and that came out of my mouth.
Well, at the same time was, remember, I never told you that I didn't love you, you know. you know, and that song, well, I'm going to make sure because it's all over the place. But oh no, I forget. But some of those songs, I mean, like they had a hook. The hook was, I forget which one it was now, but the hook of the song made absolutely no sense, and everybody agreed to it. So they tried to write sensible words to it, and it didn't work. It didn't sound right. So they kept the same nonsensical words in the hook, but it worked. If it works, it works.
I remember the song that you're talking about, but to be honest,
no, because I was given the wrong one. I want it that way. I want it that way. And nobody knew what the, you know, nobody. The writer, I mean, they tried it. The record company was on and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Max Martin was a huge hand in that entire.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was great. He wrote great stuff. It had hooks. It had things you stayed, you couldn't get out of your head. Whether you liked the song or not, you could not get it out.
And the instruments and the whole production and just the simplicity of his lyrics and like his use of rhyme schemes and being able to use syllables and just write the song in such a like rhythmic way that just was so pleasing. Like you couldn't beat it.
Well, I mean, I don't want people to think I don't like some of the stuff that's coming out now. There is some good stuff. I mean, I happen to like Billie Eilish's stuff, but she and her brother, there they go again, a team. I mean, they do all this stuff. Boy, they changed the music industry. They recorded the whole album that he won Producer of the Year award in his bedroom.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
It really is. I mean, you can do it anywhere nowadays.
Yeah, you know, if you have the ear, it's the mixing and stuff like that. I mean, there are three people on a stage, and it works. If it works, it works.
Yeah, and I definitely want to clarify too, because I know like there is a lot of good music coming out. Don't get me wrong, and I don't mean to say that I don't like anything out either, because I listen to all types of music. But I feel like everybody's trying to say the same thing, and nobody's actually saying it their own way. That's like everybody's just going right at it, like I love you or anything along those lines. They're not writing you a fairy tale that was, you know what I mean?
Well, if you got to remember something, they've been writing, we'll just say pop songs. We won't go back into classical, but they've been writing, you know, pop, rock, we'll call it pop to cover everything that's not classical, okay? Mm-hmm. Since, you know, what, the 40s, 50s, whatever. Like
contemporary era, it was like 48.
Yeah, well, how many things can you say? You know, after a while, the joke is like every song has been written before that you're going to do. It might have been somebody's shower, you know, or something like that. But every song's been written before, and you just got to try to find a way to say it in another way. That's the key, and sometimes it's hard, you know, but you do the best. Get your own sound and stuff like that. It just. Yeah, I mean, but the key is, if you want to write songs that are different, don't do the instrumentation first, because it limits you. You're like this. I always call it all tease and no orgasm. You know, it's like there's no builds or anything, because if it's all level and you have even a bass by itself, no keys, but bass, keys, whatever's there, you're limited what your singing notes can be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense. I actually enjoy writing like that better, because it just allows me to start with the blank canvas and just kind of pick some notes that are in my head and then write the words to it and then build the track around that, instead of having to be like, oh, wow, I found this on YouTube. I love it. Let me write to it, which then you're basically conforming to that other person's production, which to me is very limiting.
Yeah, it's limiting with your lead notes. You know, it's not going to go anyplace. It's, you know, it's there. And I'm saying, well, if you start there, where are you going to go from there if it's all level, you know? I have a funny one. My thing was always writing in a car, because when you're driving, you can't think. You're just automatically driving. And I'd have a recorder with me. And depending on what era it was, whether it was, you know, cassette to digital to whatever, you know, and I would get in writing and stuff like that while I was driving. Well, I got into the song one time so much. Then I'm in Philadelphia, and somehow I ended up in the middle of the night in Western Pennsylvania. I had no, in some state park, it was an Indian named park. I can't even remember the pronunciation. It was like 7 syllables. And luckily, the park rangers found me because I was lost. It was dark. There was no lights in the place. It was a park that wasn't even supposed to be open. But I just was driving and writing and writing. But at least they found me. You know, I was able to find my way out of it so I could get back on the turnpike. Yeah, I'll go on the turnpike. So then I got off there. I don't remember what happened. I was just in another world. See, and you know what's really funny? This brings up a whole different topic, but it's very important. That when you're creating anything, it could be a piece of art, you could be writing music or whatever, you are doing a form of meditation. Now, meditation is very important. And what you're doing is focusing on something, you know, one thing, or might be one word or whatever, so you could slow your mind down so it's not jumping all over the place and stuff, and you're meditating. Well, I can't tell you how many times I sat in front of my keyboard, which was over there, and just started working on arranging because I was, you know, I was just like, you know, even in the 80s, starting from there, I would, you know, do the writing, arranging, and producing all from this workstation, okay? And I'd be writing, working on stuff, and it feels like maybe 15 or 20 minutes have gone by, and I look up, it's 3 hours. Because you're so focused. It is a form of meditation. And, you know, it's been agreed to by enough people that know what meditation is. And the thing is that it's great because you're not only meditating, you've just created a song or something, you know. And, you know, it worked or it didn't, but you would get so, all right, I'm doing the drum part now, the bass. And I'm just doing all these parts and stuff like that on that and keyboards and stuff. And I used a sound sampler. It's called an Emulator 2. 5 1/4 inch floppies. I still got the Emulator 2, but you try to find 5 1/4 inch floppy disks. Yeah, I mean, it's a form of meditation.
Yeah, I feel that same way too.
Yeah, if you could be writing, you could be drawing, you could be thinking of video ideas, you could be writing a script. When I write articles and stuff, you know, even the music business articles, I get lost and all of a sudden, wow, I've been writing all this time, but it's an extreme focus on one thing. And it's a form of meditation. It's really healthy. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I agreed. I mean, music is really one of the fundamental things that we have as human beings that really can make us feel good or make us feel any type of emotion whenever we want.
And you said the key word. To me, a great song, yeah, what I listen for, it should create a mood, a feeling, you know, my thing, I've said it probably a million times, but, you know, a great songs, you know, it takes me on a mini vacation to another dimension. And yeah, it's just, that's just something special that just grabs you. There's a mood to it and things like that, that just paint a picture.
Yeah, I always find that the songs I enjoy the most are the ones that just automatically within the first 7 seconds, 10 seconds, like get me, you know?
Yeah, and you know, now what I notice, my body works automatically on this. Now, it could be an EDM song or anything like that, just gets me moving. Hey, that's great. That's a mood. It makes me want to get up and move. I'll notice my things like, especially with dance stuff, if it really feels good, my feet are the first thing to go. It just starts moving. And then if everything else is working, my head starts moving, and I can't force it. It has to just come. But when it comes, man, it's like, oh man, this song's good. It's making me move. I have no control. You know, it's just, wow, you know, it just feels good.
Yeah, I know for a fact you have a lot more experience with this because you've been listening to music your entire life. So it's for me.
So have you, but it's just my life's been longer. By about 40 years, I mean, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how you view music, because it's always about the feeling for you. And a lot of people, it's just always about like what they think it should be or what they're trying to make it be or anything.
You can't try to do anything. See, that's one of my curse words is the word try. When you're trying, you're one step away from doing. You know, you don't want to be a step away. Don't try. Just do it. You know, it's like, I know another curse word, hope. Well, I hope I get, just do it. If you're hoping, you're, you know, just especially with the word try, you're putting a negative thought in your mind right from the beginning. You're trying to do something that's negative. Just do it. It works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, okay, go to the next thing, you know, kind of thing.
A lot of people, I feel, from my perspective, what I see is a lot of people are comfortable and they're working the jobs and they don't really want to bet on themselves. They don't really want to take a risk. They've grown up in the system that's been telling them to save their money and to not buy investments or not invest into anything, and never really teach people about financial literacy and how to actually use money and make it work for them.
Well, you're dead on, because most jobs, they give you just enough money to survive, but not to make a living. It's just like just enough to survive, so they have control over you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a lot of people, what'll happen is they're so busy earning a living, they don't have time to make money. It sounds funny, but that's what's really happening. And they control you like that. They don't want you creating anything. That's what's wrong a lot with the schools nowadays. The first money they cut is for arts programs, because they don't want people thinking. They want you to just follow the step, you know. I have this saying, you know, if you see everybody going in one direction, go in another direction, you'll probably succeed much faster, because everybody else is just following everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go in your own direction. It's you, not what anybody thinks is good for you, what you feel.
Yeah.
One of my songs, you know, dreams are only dreams. At least that's what they told me. But they can't, you know, but they can't see what I can feel. And that's it. Other people can't see what you're feeling, that it's right for you. They say, oh, you should do this, get a job, you know, make money. Yeah, that might make the other person happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But otherwise, if you're working for somebody else, you're making their dreams come true. You're not making your dreams come true.
Definitely not. And I've noticed that too. It's like you have to bet on yourself. You have to trust yourself, trust your intuition, and just take that step forward. Because I know the fear is crippling for people, and they live their whole life, and then they look back when they're on their deathbed and they're like, wow, I never accomplished anything that I wanted to do in my life. And unfortunately, I know some people like that I've met throughout my life that were fear has crippled them and not allowed them to do
risks.
Yeah, and to me that it's scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you, and it kind of put a fire underneath me that made me want to work even more towards what I love, because that's what's true to me. And at the end of the day, I want to be proud of myself. If you know what I mean, like, you never know when you're gonna go out, so you might as well just do what you enjoy every day, because you can't never take the money with you.
Yeah, that goes exactly to the point of, you know, yeah, you need to risk, you need to they're afraid of making mistakes. Make mistakes. So what? That's how you learn what doesn't work. Then you adjust it and go what does work. But I always, you know, like I tell people, and I guess I told myself when I was 16 years old, when I decided to go straight into the music stuff, you know, I don't want to be 80 years old and say, what if I would, oh my God, you know, I mean, you know, you got to do what you feel. Part of the problem is the drive for money. But if you work regular jobs, it's hard to make money. You know, might make enough to eat and stuff. My thing is, well, at that point, why not do it for yourself? Part of the problem is what's the definition of success? And so many people see, oh, millions of dollars and all this power. I look at success.
Yachts and Miami and LA and beachfront property and expensive everything, jewelry.
Well, to have that stuff, first of all, you can't take it with you. Once you're dead, it's somebody else's. You know what I mean? You can't take it with you.
If you don't have a will, it's definitely gone.
Yeah, it's wherever it's going. God, my thing is, success to me is doing what you love to do and earning a comfortable living. I mean, I'm no multi-millionaire, but I'm doing what I love to do, so I'm happy. And you go interview a lot of people that are very big, or just watch them. they might be powerful and big, but they're not happy people.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that a lot.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't need airplanes. I don't need boats and stuff like that. It's like almost to brag to somebody else. Look what I got. I don't need to do that. I don't.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're comparing people instead of being yourself.
Yeah,
And too many people judging.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to look at everybody. And this is the way I see it. You're supposed to look at everybody and congratulate them on their successes, but also just worry about yourself, because you are unique to you, and there's no two of you on earth. There's not another one of you on earth. So no matter what you do, you're going to be doing you if you trust yourself and you follow your intuition. But if you're second guessing yourself and you're putting yourself down, and you're not actually trying to move forward in your life, and you're not looking to take that risk, you'll never really be able to even get close to where you want to be.
Yeah, and believe it or not, what you said was all cool, but it brought up about 10 subjects. First of all, I hate the word worry about, because that's one of those negative emotions that belongs in the dumpster. Yeah, I mean, people, they're like, oh, what's this sayings that come up like keeping up with the Joneses. Well, you don't have. Why do you want to be the Joneses? Don't you want to? I want to be a Pooch.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a Joneses. I want to be a Pooch. And my thing, instead of being concerned with other people, let them be successful. Don't be jealous. I think there's plenty of room for them to be successful and you to be successful.
Also, if you're open-minded, you're able to also learn from their situation and understand what they could have done better or done worse, or you know what I mean? There's a lot to learn in everything.
That's a good point. And there's a lot of people who would say, we'll learn from other people's mistakes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what's a mistake for them could also be fine for you.
Of course.
God, don't be concerned with the other people. Then your focus is on them instead of yourself. So instead of focusing on them, oh, you know what that's like? It's like people that hate somebody did them wrong and they get all upset and everything like that. Okay, my thing is, okay, be upset for 5 minutes. That's all the time you got. Because otherwise, if you want to get back at them and revenge and all those kinds of things like that, your focus is on them, not yourself.
Yeah.
Build yourself. Yeah, build yourself up. Don't knock others down. I mean, and by the way, we're getting into a lot of things. That's why this is called life in the music business. It's real life. And one of the things we do as songwriters and everything else is write about what we see and observe. But that's why this is life in the music business. And we're going to be covering things because if you can be confident in yourself, and it's going to help you with your career.
Completely understood. I mean, learning how to live this life it's a different type of life than the average person working a 9 to 5. I mean, there's always surprises and interesting things that pop up on a daily basis. But if it's something you love to do and it keeps you happy, I mean, that's what will keep you young and healthy. Yeah,
it's really funny because we're really here for all entrepreneurs in the arts. And the thing is, people say entrepreneurs. If you're in music and that's what you're doing, you're an entrepreneur. It's you're your own boss kind of a thing.
Of course.
And what was funny is you said 9 to 5 job. The title of one of my books is God Didn't Create Alarm Clocks. See, this is because that goes back to the Industrial Revolution. The alarm wakes you up, you have to get up, and then you work hard all day. You do that at night, and then you keep going around and around. It's so funny because what happens is, and I have to kill people that phone me like, 10 or 11 in the morning. And I said, look, I go by PPST. It's Professor Pooch Standard Time. Now, what it is my morning is basically 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's my morning. My afternoon is 6 p.m. to midnight. My evening is midnight to whenever else I feel like going to sleep, which usually 6, 7, or 8 a.m. Why? It's just that works for me. But a lot of times, there's been times where I might fall asleep, take a nap or something, and then I get up, I go, and there are people, there's history, you can look it up. Some people just do 20-minute cat naps. My thing is, see, when I say God didn't create alarm clocks, the book, it's that, to me, I believe that God, or whatever you call God, it could be the universe or whatever it is, one says to go to sleep when we're tired and wake up when we're not, and just, of course, there's times I have a client, we have to set a time because we're going to be doing a Skype call or Zoom or whatever else and stuff. Yeah, there's times like that. But otherwise, man, I go to sleep when I'm tired and I wake up when I'm not, because as long as I get all the stuff done, I mean, I go normally 12 to 14 to 16 hours every day working, but I like what I do. So it's not work, it's fun, so it doesn't wear me out,
Yeah. Makes sense.
Well, it's also, what makes life easier is if you stay away from all the negative people, obnoxious people, and the drama queens and kings, everything gets easier. The problem is a lot of these negative people and drama people are places of work. That's why I like being in my, the Pooch Palace here. That's what I always call it. Or that's actually the Pooch Palace in my museum, because my wife collects everything. This house is so full. My third floor, which is my office, I keep it as clear as I can so I can actually think. By the way, especially for people nowadays where they have to work at home and things like this, it really helps to keep your working space uncluttered. Now, I try to keep my desk, I'm looking at a 23-inch monitor, and I got a large desk here. I try to keep it really clear because people don't understand something. You don't see with your eyes, okay? You see with your brain, and the brain is focusing on a lot of clutter. It's hard to have a clear mind. But if it's a clear area to work, your brain's, it's going to be less wearing on you and less tiring. I mean, you see with your brain, the eyes just is giving you information to the brain. It's just like the camera lens, kind of thing.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's some good advice for everybody right there, to be able to have a clear head, clear space. I mean, be able to get the work done that they need to. I know a lot of people have had a lot more time with themselves than they would wanted to, but I mean, you got to take what we can get and just move forward day by day.
Yeah, and just do things. If you're creative, we'll say, well, I can't play out now. But if you're creative in one thing, I believe you're creative in everything. And one of these days, it's too late in the show to get really into it, and we should spend a day on this because it's really important. We have 5 senses that everybody talks about. Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting. Did I name them? I think I named tasting, hearing, smelling, touching, seeing, whatever. It's 5 senses. But what you're doing, we were raised to use those 5 senses. But what's happening there is we are trained to react to whatever's out there. We're touching it, we're seeing it, we're hearing it or whatever. We're reacting to what somebody else created. And what we are going to have to spend a show on, there are 6 inner senses, that you can use. We'll get into it because it's a whole show talking about it. But there's 6 inner senses that are very important, where you're creating your own future instead of reacting to the past. When you're tasting, smelling, all that stuff, all the regular senses, you're reacting to something that's already there, so it's in the past. You're not creating your future. And one of the major ones is using your imagination. And people say, well, I can't, I don't have this imagination. The inner senses are like muscles. You got to exercise them. They're like muscles. You got to exercise them and just keep working at it. Create something different, things like that. And we'll get into it on a whole show because it is a whole show. But it's very important, these 6 inner senses. Or get my book, God Didn't Create Alarm Clocks, on my site or on Amazon or whatever. But it talks about entrepreneurship, and it covers all the arts. The arts are the arts, and you'll notice we'll get into film, we'll get into TV and arts and stuff. It's all multimedia. We're covering all of it, and we'll be getting into a lot of it. Matter of fact, when we go further in step 1, we're going to have to deal with music videos. And music videos are, you got to deal with them too. I mean, can you picture not having a video nowadays?
No, you need one. You need one.
Well, let's put it, it's real simple. There's a simple way of proving it. And that is over 90% of the people looking for a particular song go to YouTube or YouTube, right? One of the.
Yeah. Either YouTube Music, normal YouTube. I mean, they're just
because they'll play the song you want to hear, or videos you want. And I go, that's where if I need, I'll hear some of the radio. And the thing that kills me on radio, most stations, they don't tell you who the group is or the name of the song. And you kind of try to figure it out. So you go into Google or whatever, or say, Alexa, could you find me a song about, kind of things like that. Which brings me up to a totally different subject, but very important and worth repeating once in a while. People, because I ran into it today, within the last week with this, where a person wanted to make their stage name something really different. And that's all well and good, but it's got to be pronounceable. Because it's been proven over 67%, it's getting higher all the time. They don't type in a search engine, find me. They're going to say, Alexa, play me, or Siri, play me. So it's got to be pronounceable. Don't give me this XZYRW kind of a thing. And, some people are just, all right, that's what you want. My job is to give you options and try to protect you. If you want to drive yourself crazy, and so nobody can find you, use some obscure this or that. It's got to be pronounceable. So you could say, Alexa, please play me. Siri, please play me. Google, whatever it is. Okay. It's got to be pronounceable, spellable, something.
That's a good point for up and coming artists. Like they're very fidgety. I know some people that are fidgety with their names. They keep changing them, this and that, and this and that. I mean, if you just got to find a name that resonates with you, and that will, like Pooch said, you will be able to speak it on Alexa, Google, and all that type of stuff, Siri, all that. Yeah,
continuity is very important. I remember this one rapper came to me and he had 6 stage names. I said, man, how are you going to promote it? What the heck's going on? And by the way, what's helped me from the business side, because we're talking to people not just the creative side, business side. I have people that will, want to contact me who knew me years ago and can find me because I've had the same, office number since the 80s, my cell number since the 90s, and they can find me, If you keep changing names and numbers and and stuff like that, it's harder for a person to track you down.
Yeah.
And I've had many clients, oh, Pooch, it's a good thing I found you. I know I haven't talked to you in 10 years. Do you still have this contract that you wrote for me back there? I can't find it. I don't know, and I'll have it because, believe it or not, I have contracts with clients that go back to the 80s.
Wow.
Now, the trick was at the time, because all there was were these fat Macs and everything was on a floppy disk. Somehow my son was able to translate that to a PC. Somehow, I don't know how he did it. He's one of these people that is a genius with that kind of stuff. And I was able to transfer stuff onto my PC. I mean, I got records for people, and they're now protected on the cloud, kinds of things. Which brings up one more major thing, and then we're going to be running way out of time, is that, folks, hard drives die.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And they die right when you least
And you know it too, because you
Right when-
changed one of mine.
Food, right when you, this is for everybody really, right when you least expect it is when you will lose everything. Okay. So like even the cloud isn't the safest, but like you gotta have, like they always say in the industry, they say like 3 is 2, 2 is 1, and 1 is none. So you gotta make sure you have at least, I make sure, like I just bought a brand new hard drive, the 4 terabyte hard drive, 4,000 gig, and it died on me and I lost everything. So, but like luckily I was able to go back, and it was just, it's a whole confusing thing between like the Mac and Windows compatibility and that type of stuff. But I figured it out because I've been working in computers since I was 7. My dad's been doing it my entire life. So I have a kind of a different leg up in that sense, but it could happen to you. And I've seen people lose their entire life on the hard drive.
Which brings it back to studios and stuff. And I could run the Philadelphia recording community, which is, we used to meet in person, but we can't nowadays. But we have a site, it's a large site. And we were talking one day, you know, because some artist was saying, who got onto the site, someone was saying, they lost my hard drive, you know, they lost my stuff that I had on their computers and stuff. And my thing is, and we got on people, look, if you paid for your session, you bring a terabyte, they're real cheap nowadays, a terabyte hard drive, it'll hold all your sound files, okay? And every session, you pay for it. When you leave, don't leave without a copy of everything that was done, both the stems, that's the raw files, and rough mixes or finished mixes or whatever. Don't trust even the studio, because the studio's thing could crash.
Yeah.
Now, me, I keep really important stuff in the cloud. I keep it on a separate hard drive, and I run 2 hard drives on my computer. As you know, BACEFACE, that we changed the OneDrive, but I had another drive with some movie backup still there with the main programs, and my storage stuff was on a separate hard drive. I use a desktop because I had so many files and stuff like that. Just, folks, back it up. In my studio, I had a sign that says, "Have you been saved?" Because in the old days, you had the floppies and stuff like that. You had to remember to save it, because otherwise you lost the session. There was no cloud back then, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's all that brings up my last point too, is that if you go to a studio and you now that you're well equipped to know as an artist or whatever you're doing in the studio, when you go there, you are entitled those files when you leave. So they should give you the entire project. And I've seen people, different studios and labels and such not, whatnot. I mean, that will literally withhold the sessions, or they'll take off all the effects that were on the session and just give it to you plain. And at the end of the day, that's to me is very petty, and you should be able to get those sessions the way that you.
Yeah, but there is one thing. If you haven't paid up,
yeah, of course.
If you haven't paid up, that is a problem. Matter of fact, with my clients, what I tell them, and it's by contract with the producer of the studio, whatever it is there, after you give us the final files, and we back it up too, of course, you erase the files off your system. Because I don't want them using the same tracks for somebody else, or using it for their own things.
I've seen that happen before.
Oh, yeah.
Times. So yeah, I mean that was a very long episode for us today. I hope a lot of people.
I have no idea how long, but
hey,
we can go any place. But
yeah, we can.
Important stuff.
There's always stuff to learn. We're going to cover every topic throughout the time. I mean, it's just going to be it's just going to go on and on. It's kind of a continuous show. So
well, it's for all entrepreneurs, and especially in the music industry. But this is all important stuff. It's life. And it's the career, your career. Is this going to help your career overall? It's just super important. We might have just saved you, because you know the next time you go in the studio to back up your stuff, in case something happens to their computer and they lose it and they didn't back it up, you might have saved you a ton of time and money.
Yeah, of course. And always try to write things down if you hear something that you like there, or save the time so you can go back and listen to it through the podcast or on YouTube. and be able to really keep up to date with everything, because, you know, Pooch is up to date on everything that's going on in the industry, and we are giving you our real life experience and putting that in podcast. So
Yep.
you can
It's like,
lead us out, Pooch.
yeah, tune in for the next episode, folks, and bye-bye.
I see you guys.
Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next episode.